How to get clarity in your relationship beyond hurt feelings. A few weeks ago, my husband and I actually took a trip to the Florida Keys, and we came from really rainy weather here in North Georgia and Tennessee, and exposed to a whole lot of sunlight. So what did I do? I was careful, especially at this age, to make sure that I didn't get sunburned. So I actually used this hat, and I also wore a long sleeve white top just about everywhere I went because I really want to protect my skin. Now, when I was younger, I didn't really care. It was like really cool to be in the sun. And I don't know if some of you remember using baby oil and iodine, which is like so crazy to do, but you end up with a really bad sunburn. So when you come back from vacation and somebody bumps into you, and it like, whoa, it really hurts. Whereas if you didn't have a sunburn, somebody accidentally bumped into you, it wouldn't matter. So what we want to do, I want to stick with this analogy as we talk about hurt feelings. Now, we know that that could be all different things, but just stick with me on this analogy of sunburn. So, and let me just introduce myself in case you're brand new. I'm Judy Herman, and I help leaders create connection beyond conflict in their most crucial relationships. I'm a licensed professional counselor and mental health service provider, but of course this is not a substitute for professional counseling. And I also am author of Beyond Messy Relationships, Divine Invitations to Your Authentic Self. But I want to help you to make sense and get some clarity from your relationships beyond hurt feelings. How can we connect the dots from the past to the present? And that's something that I do cover in my book, which will be out later on, and I can give you some details about it. So there's 3 questions to ask. First of all, ask when you are hurt or when you hurt your partner and they overreact. Is it your sunburn that is causing you hurt, or is it theirs? So ask yourself that. If you did what I did as a teenager, and it is your sunburn, it's time to get some healing. What is that all about? Let's see if we can put some, some closure to that, what happened in childhood. Here's the thing, that we all, as human beings, we learn how to move toward pleasure and away from pain. And pain in our childhoods and family of origins, we've learned how to move away from that. But the problem is it doesn't work in our adult relationships. So it's so important to get some healing from that. And then also, if it's your partner's sunburn, learn to have some compassion. It makes sense. Things that wouldn't hurt you would hurt them. So having that kind of compassion and being aware. The second question, not only is it your sunburn or is it your partner's sunburn, but the second question to ask is it your sanity? We can be in relationship and there's sometimes things that go on and you think, wait a minute, am I crazy here? Did this just happen and this? And is it me? And so to ask, is it your sanity? And again, if we go back to the reality that we learn certain ways of relating early on in our lives, let's just say we learn how to manipulate, right? We learn how to manipulate to get our way. And again, toward pleasure, away from pain. Now, if we're using the same tactics of manipulation in childhood, in our adult relationships, we're going to feel like something is off here. And that's the time to, again, raise our level of awareness. It's not you that's crazy. It might be the situation. It might be how it's being regarded, or something is going on, but both need to show up and be adults and put childhood in the past and childish ways of behaving in the past and show up as adults. And a lot of people will need some help with this. This is not something to be ashamed of. It's something with which to, hey, let's go to a therapist and learn this. Let's learn how to be aware of those things that are driving these conflicts. And then so not only is it your sunburn, is it your sanity, but ask yourself, is it your sameness? Now, every living thing is designed to grow, from plants to animals to human beings to relationships. If you are wanting things to be the same, ask yourself, is it sameness that's causing the hurt and the conflict? Because what is the invitation? And I do talk about an acronym in my book about breathing in fresh air and how to take risks, necessary risks for growth, rather than being in a very closed place and closed way of being. So ask yourself, is it your sunburn? Is it your sanity? Is it your sameness? And you can get some clarity. Now, I want to tell you more. I'm so excited to tell you more because I'm creating a webinar, which I'm hoping that I'll be able to do sooner than later. But I would like to deal with things in more detail about relationship clarity, recover, reveal, and relate after regrettable fights. So, yeah, now, Ria, let me answer this question. This is cool that you asked it. What if your spouse refuses to put themselves in your shoes and see it from your perspective? That's a problem. We all have to remember that we're not the sun and the rest of the world orbits around us. So that would be my first thing is, I think honestly that this kind of thing can be learned. It can be a learned experience. A lot of times couples come together, one is very empathic and the other one is not. But I believe the other one that is not naturally that way can learn how to be. So I hope that answers your question. But okay, also, how long is an appropriate time to wait and cool off? Great question. Before trying to talk it out or see things from your spouse's perspective. Great question, Ria. Thank you so much for asking, because I guarantee 100 other people are asking this very same question. Time, yes, it takes. Now, if both can learn how to do this, and again, depending on if there's a real severe sunburn going on or not, but you should be able to learn how to do this within 90 seconds, like the anxiety that happens. But of course, we don't know the history and a bunch of other things, but if it was just brain chemistry only that we were dealing with, it would take, deep breaths, 90 seconds, 4 or 5 deep breaths from the belly and slowing things down, because things get rapid fire in our brains. But when we breathe through things, and we're open. Now, I'm saying that this is it can be a learned behavior, and it doesn't come naturally. But if you need 20 minutes to cool off, then your partner should honor and give you that 20 minutes. But usually what happens is you need some time away, and we've got this pursuer distancer thing. And the more that you go in your turtle shell, or one person goes in their turtle shell and the other one's a tiger, and they get scared because they think you're going to abandon them. So these are all driven by some real fears, perhaps in childhood for most of the time. But what we want to do is we want to be aware of it. We want to learn, okay, so what is it that I'm doing, and what are these fears? The body actually reacts the very same way, whether it's a perceived or a real fear. But when you take your deep breaths, you have some guidance from a counselor or from some others, we can learn all of these things. I have a whole lot of hope. Yeah, breathing in fresh air. So that's great. So I'm developing a webinar. I want you to know about it. And so, yes, go to my website. I've made a bunch of changes on my website, judycounselor.com. I am changing. If you want that 10 ways to build trust in a relationship, that is coming down sooner than later, probably by this weekend. But I'm going to put up another resource, and it's going to be the relationship stress quiz. So you'll be able to kind of see where your relationship is. Now, in the meantime, if you're out in the sun, on a practical level, make sure you put on your hat, okay? Don't put on baby oil and iodine. That was crazy. But we know a whole lot more than we did when I was a teenager. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I so appreciate you here. And share this with your friends, okay? I'd love for you to share, and I want to stay connected with you. Judy Herman, author of Beyond Messy Relationships. Thanks. Bye-bye.